Hi there, I'm John Rivers, and welcome to my session on Connect 2025. As I said, my name is John Rivers. I'm actually the co-founder here at Marketeeri. I've been in the Microsoft space longer than I probably want to admit some days. I know you can see up on the screen a little bit more about me. How I date myself in the Microsoft Dynamics space, which is really where I grew up in. Um, Even though I was working with ERP beforehand, I actually got into the Microsoft Dynamics space when it was Exapta 2.5. So anyone who knows that will definitely better work out how long I've been in this industry. But less about me. I really want to get into the session I want to talk about today, unlocking creativity, 20 game-changing Microsoft Copilot use cases for marketeers. So at the end of the day, what we're going to do is we're going to go through some basically some prompts, how to build a perfect prompt, and some examples. I'm going to be working between slides and also actually show and tell as well. So with that, let's get moving along. But before that, did you know that out of the 78% of millennials are already secretly using AI at work? I mean, that's a big number. And AI, yes, it's been around longer, but really it's only hit the market in the last couple of years, even a little bit less than that. So 78% is a pretty big piece. So that's one fact that you may not know. 41% of marketeers are already using or adopting Gen AI to automate tasks like writing articles, social media posts and landing pages, and many, many more things. And that's what we want to try to get through to on this slide deck or this presentation, is to actually talk about some of the other areas where you can start using it, and not just the typical writing of articles or social media posts. But before I even continue on that, if you are going to use it for social media posts or any of that stuff, please remove the rocket. That's one area that I hate seeing, that emoji. It's a real straightaway takeaway that you are using AI as soon as you use that emoji. So just take it away if you're going to use it, or cut down on your emojis a little bit. 34% of marketing directors say AI is improving customer experiences by making them more personal. As we know, marketing needs to be more personal than just spray and hope for the best. So let's get into how do we master the recipe for crafting the perfect prompt for Microsoft Copilot. So here is, you basically need to give Copilot some precise inputs for the best results. So here's just a few examples. Tracking industry news. Give me a concise summary of recent news about product X. Creating engaging content. Create a value prop for product X, right? So it's really, to get the best out of AI, you really got to learn to work on actually the prompt. The prompt is really the make ends that work, right? Without a good prompt, you're not going to be successful. Adding the right key ingredients into your perfect prompt. So the first part is always add your goal. So generate 3 to 5 bullet points. What's the context to prepare me for meeting with client X to discuss phase 3 brand campaign. And then focus on email and Teams chat, which is really your source. And then please use simple language, which is your expectations. So if you really remember that, and actually if you don't remember this slide, then just go hop over. Actually, Mike, I will put my hands up. I stole these bits from the Microsoft site, but they really do make a difference when you do this. Keeping the conversation going is already key. So even that you just typed in one thing doesn't mean you can't keep asking. So lead with a broader request, then give specific details, ask for the summary, right? So at the end of the day is you're just going to keep on moving through what you're doing. And we're going to do a little bit of that in what we're going to present. Key tips, remember, Copilot is limited, right? It's current conversation, so lots of details. Be professional. I know it sounds funny, but actually adding polite language and all that does help. I had to laugh there a little bit because back a while, back, I don't know, probably like 6 months ago, I was trying to help someone build an image, and we wanted something not to show up in the image, based on this was for a company. And even that we kept telling it, it kept putting it in to the point where we got a little bit more forceful, should we say. I actually joked this at a conference recently. It's like you put crap in, you're going to get crap out. So at the end of the day, we have to keep telling it, don't do it, stop giving us what this. And eventually it did produce something, but just be cognizant of that. Let's talk about the prompts for marketeers. So all of these examples I've gone many times through and actually tested them. They do produce some great results. So let's go through them. So the one I do like is creating a persona. One of the things that we always challenge ourselves a little bit in marketing is creating personas. So this one's build me a persona of a particular job title with what the role skills are at an industry, and then just keep on going, right? This person is looking for, and then list their hopes, dreams, concerns, emotion triggers. So with that, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go out there and actually do an example here. We're going to build up a couple of these. We've got a lot of slides to go through, but we're going to just grab this one. So okay, so let's put that prompt straight into Copilot here. And actually, for anyone who doesn't know where I am, I'm actually in the actual licensed version. The reason I like to use that one is because then all my content is staying in here. I can also save stuff and things like that. So we've started a new chat here. I'm actually not going to type it all in. I just copied it across. Build me a persona of a CFO at $100 million food manufacturer in the Midwest in the US. This person is seeking help with end-to-end or end-of-month financial reporting and is considering a new ERP. Okay, let's see what it does from a piece here, right? So what we can see straight out of the gate here is basically an example of a person, a company example, educated. And what we want to do as users here, first thing we really need to do is check that the information that's coming back is actually factual. Because at the end of the day, if it's not, then we need to go back and tell AI, make the changes, right? So are the challenges that it's coming back is Jane is evaluating the implementation of a new ERP system to streamline our financial processes, improve data. That to me sounds pretty good, right? So at the end of the day, we are actually probably working pretty good there. Seeking help, yep. So this all looks good. But at the end of the day, if it didn't, go and tell it and say, okay, this piece about strategic thinking, a thinker, that's not what Jane is. Go and tell it. You have to sometimes educate AI, but don't go and start a new chat. You want to stay inside the chat because it's going to remember this. What I also like to do, and you can do it here, is copy. Is if you're doing multiples of these or any of the stuff that we're going to cover here, copy it into a Word document or some other way. So you can always come back and input it back in if for some reason you did not say, basically keep the chat. So let's keep going. So basically get some inspiration for content, right? So the next piece we're looking at is how do we get some inspiration, right? So again, with this piece, we basically can analyze the current trend in a particular niche and propose content and work our way through. So you actually, this is a 3-part that you would actually start to work on. I'm going to take one of those parts, and I'm going to come back into my actual screen, and I'm actually going to go and show you there. So we're back in Copilot, and again, I just pasted in, analyze the changes in this prospect and propose content ideas, can capitalize on there, explore some trends, etc., etc. So let's see what it comes back with. All right. So again, we're getting some content ideas here. So straight out of the gate, what we can start to work on as this is building out here is maybe some guides. So there straight away, possibly case studies would really help us be successful here. So remember, I may be someone that's trying to sell ERP, and I'm trying to work my way to actually find the right way to talk to prospective food manufacturers, very similar to Jane that we just created. So this is giving me some ideas, right? We may find that, hey, 2 articles or 1 webinar is not enough, or 2 webinars. We need to do more, but this at least starts to give you that feel of what you're doing. With that said, what we're going to do is we're going to actually, instead of going back here to my slide deck, I'm going to go jump straight in. So what I'm going to ask it is basically based on a piece here, I'm just going to go and grab this and I'm going to pop this in here. So based on the following reporting best practices from manufacturers, right? So what I did was I'm grabbing this whole piece here and I'm going to pop that in. So let's actually go and grab this whole piece and pop it straight into here, because just taking what I probably did last time, there may be a little different on the data. And it did not copy it. Why didn't it copy it? Let's go and do that again. Okay, there it is. So what we'll do is we'll create a blog outline for that blog that we just said we want to write. So it's just working its way down here. So at the end of the day, it's, again, before we even take this, we want to check that it's correct and it makes sense, right? If it doesn't, come back and tell AI, go and educate. AI is only, or AI and prompts, it's taking data that's out there, but sometimes you have to educate it. And there could be, I mean, by the time this releases out, wave 1 for 2025 for Dynamics ERP and CRM and all that will get released. And at the end of the day, what this does is that all that data from there may not be in there, and there may be a feature function that's been added to the products that makes sense that we want to include in our conversation. So we need to educate it because maybe AI hasn't seen it yet. But anyway, so here we have a great outline now for our blog. All right, so at the end of the day is you could take that and start to craft a blog. Now, some people may go and try to write it totally in here. To be honest, some of the research that I've done and some other marketing people I've talked to, at the end of the day, the research is coming back is, yes, you could do it a little bit, but really you need to humanize it. All the search engines and the AI tools are really looking for things which are humanized and not 100% AI. It actually may degrade your content if it's 100%. So just think about that. I know some folks are trying to write everything in AI. It's not always the best thing, and you really want to put a human element onto it. Okay, so we're going to move along because I know we've got time crunches always going on. So we created an outline. One of the things that you can do is another prompt can go out there. You could do a content, edit content quicker. You may want to act as an experienced writer, review this piece of content, focusing on ensuring verb tense consistency throughout the document, right? So you can take, after you've written that blog, and actually go out there and start to go and check it. I know that some folks out there, they want to make sure certain keywords are added into a blog. You could go and tell it, hey, are all these keywords, or tell me where I could put these keywords without really losing the humanization I've added. So sometimes it's easier to do that than try to add keywords right at the beginning, right? So as you're writing, sometimes adding in and trying to meet those requirements is hard. Write it from a human standpoint and then come back. So just a couple areas there. Another area that could be looked at, translating copy and content, right? Translate this sentence, phrase, or whatever from language to language. Remember, you still really need someone to really check it that understands the nuances of that language, because at the end of the day, even like we may use Google to do a translate, it's never always perfect. And especially if we get into technology, we may need to do some tweaking there. So yes, you could use it, but always double check as you go through. One of the areas is around keywords, brainstorming some seeds. Prepare a table of 100 keywords for a primary topic. It should have short tail, long tail, LSI, keywords, transactionals. So basically, you could start to get it to help you. Now, really, at the end of the day, it can't go as deep as tools like SEMrush, Moz, and others. But at the end of the day, this can help you a little bit speed up that process. So that's also an area that you can look at from a marketing person. At the end of the day, is generating schema for SEO, right? I want to create a JSON. You can use that from inside here, and you just go and follow the prompts here. Let's keep on going. Is at the end of the day, sometimes we're not too sure how to write a title tag. How do we improve them? How do we make sure that maybe a certain keyword is inside it? And we just want to make it a little bit more engaging and things like that. You can start to talk about using these, right? You could do one to create a title tag that conveys urgency, right? So at the end of the day, is title tags are very important. This is a place to do that to help you. What I like to do sometimes is I do this, but I still put the human element on it. I may actually say, draft me 5 different title tags. That way I can look at, because they get it. An area that I probably don't have in here is what I'll do sometimes is take it back, and then once I've chosen, maybe made some mods myself personally, I'm going to ask AI to rate that title tag on what it thinks a reader is going to come in. Am I going to grab their attention? And it may just give me a 5 out of 10. If it does, then I'm probably going to work on that title tag a little bit more. That goes for pretty much a lot of things in AI. I have to say I do a lot of rating on certain things. Did one of the writers in my organization do a great title? What does AI think? Now, again, that's not meaning that's the best solution, but we do look at that and compare it against the group. Does it make sense? And things like that. Generating meta descriptions. Sometimes it's hard to write maybe a meta description to support your blog. And this is a way to get it to go through your blog. You also, when you're adding, you probably want to make sure your focus keyword is inside your meta description, right? So that's a way that you could probably expand that out and say, write an SEO meta description for this article, including this focus keyword X, and therefore it would actually build it in. Now, one of the things that I have found with a lot of the AI tools, not just Copilot, we say, can you shorten this to stay in within 160 characters? It doesn't do a great job. It's not a great job at counting the number of characters. And sometimes you need, and I left this up on here on purpose, sometimes you need to go out there, say, okay, 160 characters, including spaces. And even after that, you may want to actually go back and say, hey, this is still too long. But again, bottom line is, even if you use this, make sure you humanize it. It's not the finished product. I mean, I can't emphasize that if you want to be successful here. Simplifying your data, reviewing your data. How can I analyze data, right? What are some effective techniques for outliner detection, handling data, analyze? Can you recommend any unsupervised learning algorithm? So at the end of the day, this is where AI can really come into its own, is helping you analyze data. Another area, right? So plan a 3-part email. So helping you with email. So maybe that blog that we just wrote, from that prompt we got it to do, we put that back in. We now want it to come back and help us actually put together this 3-part drip campaign to support that, right? So we can take it through, right, and tell it a little bit like this example is, each email should feature a different customer testimonial, beginning with a story about a customer who transformed their health using FitLife's meal plans, right? Maybe we change that into the ERP because this probably wouldn't make sense for that blog, but hopefully you get the whole concept here, is that we're trying to help it. And again, we still want to humanize it. I can't emphasize that enough, and I'm probably going to keep saying it a few more times here. Got all that done. You've got your blog live. We talked a little bit at the beginning of not using the rocket ship, but now I want to get it to create me some social media messages, because we've posted that blog and now we need to promote it. So you could say, provide me some unique themes for my social media posts related to this article I just wrote, or suggest me some weekly series. I know some folks out there who will do that. So basically give me suggestions so I can actually fill my calendar over a period of time and not have to keep going back, and get it to play around. Now, like anything, these are not always perfect, and you may need to go through them and keep tweaking them. But bottom line again is, once you've got it, make sure it's got some human eyes to it. And you may want also to educate AI and Copilot to actually have a certain structure, because you know that structure is successful. Let's roll back a step as well. Is when you're doing all of this as well, in the persona is probably a good place. So you just taught the persona, but think about the other side. You're talking the persona of the person you're targeting, but now you're trying to write a social media message for a particular article that maybe is written by the CEO, right? Or maybe as a marketing team, you ghost wrote that for your CEO. Well, in their voice and their tone and all of that. Well, you probably also really, if you're going to post also on behalf of them, you probably also want the social media in their tone and voice. Again, what you can do is take a number of different pieces of material content that that CEO has written, and actually put that in and teach the AI that content, right? So what you're doing is you're teaching AI, hopefully, that persona, that voice, that style that that CEO is writing through, right? Are they a little bit more casual? Are they formal? Because at the end of the day, you want everything else to try to match. And again, earlier on, I said about rating. You could write that blog and say, hey, rate this blog against my CEO's persona, voice, and tone. How do you rate it? Would you make some changes? And it will come back with some recommendations if there are. So think about that as well in some of the things you're doing. Market research, right? How do we go out there and list some of the potential risks and challenges in a particular industry, right? So again, if I'm focusing on that food manufacturing company, maybe that's what I put in, right? List some potential risks and things going on there. So with that said, let's go and grab that, and we'll actually go out and try that and see what we get back on things here. So we're going to hop over back to my screen. List potential risks and challenges in the food manufacturing industry that a company should prepare for when selling selling an cloud ERP solution, right? Let's just add that on there. Let's see what we get. Right, so a couple things that you start to see that's coming out of this is like food and safety compliance. Most manufacturers are going to have real strict regulations around that, traceability. So what this is doing straight away is that earlier on, we got it to give us some ideas possibly to write about, but this actually gives us some other areas that we could definitely start to write about, right? So we could actually write about 2 articles minimum there, one about compliance, one about traceability, how raw material sourcing, all those things could be looked at. Going back to the days, and I hate to bring this back up, but let's go back a few years when we were dealing with COVID. Of course, certain raw materials were hard to get because of what was going on. So what some food manufacturers were doing was finding ways to do substitution, right? How could they produce the same recipe with maybe slightly different ingredients, right? That goes back a different area, but they still have to source those. So you could talk about that. Logistics, transportation. So we're seeing some areas that maybe these would be challenges as well. So we got a lot that's going on here. Let's go back to our slides. Okay. So that's market research, and that's a real helpful one. At the end of the day, we're trying to speed up. Historically, we probably, of course, we have a lot of knowledge about that as companies, but at the end of the day, we want to clarify it sometimes, or maybe we're starting a new industry. This is helping us. I mean, historically, we've probably gone into Bing, Google to done that search. This sometimes is a lot quicker, and you can start to get in there and ask those additional questions. Where else could you use AI, Copilot, to help for marketing? Advertising copy, write an ad copy that focuses on the benefits. So again, we could write different ones. You can see there's actually 4 different options here. Help write a script, maybe for a video ad. So at the end of the day, you could use that. Again, you probably still want to go through it like everything else to make sure that it's going where you need it to go. Ranking. At the end of the day, analyzing from a ranking standpoint. So I'm giving you a Google Search Console data. So I'm taking some data showing the search performance of a certain URL. Can you analyze it? Right? So this is where I like it, is getting in, and I'm a real, when it comes to data, I'm a data geek. So I love looking at analytics and stuff like that. Some days I can get sucked into it before I know it. I've spent 2 or 3 hours just looking at stuff and then keep bouncing around, trying to understand where stuff's coming from. So again, you can teach it and ask it. What we can also do is sometimes pull data. Maybe there is some data in LinkedIn, but there's you are able to see some of. You can't see all that data in, say, Google Analytics. Some of the data, like I said, is in LinkedIn. Bring the 2 sources in and get it to do the looking at. Yes, and historically we may have used other tools, maybe like Power BI to do that, but now we can do that probably a lot quicker here as well. This one's a great one, suggesting SEO edits to a page that would improve rankings. Again, this is its suggestions. You still, again, probably want to look at that, run and check it again, check certain things within your SEO tools like SEMrush, Moz, and tools like that. Ahrefs is another one. At the end of the day, just to make sure what you are changing does make sense. But it is always a great thing to look at and see where it compares you, right? How do you compare yourself? Product descriptions. You might be someone that's trying to use Copilot to help you with product descriptions, right? You can start to use that again to help you write, give it a little bit of information, and then ask it to give back some examples, right? I didn't put it on every single one here, but again, write a product description for this, or you could say, write a product description for this product that appeals to the consumer. Give me 3, give me 5 examples. That way, then you can see different versions of it. I think that's always a great way to look at it. And then just go back. If you don't like all 3, ask them, or all 5, ask it to give you some more. There's no harm. You keep asking. Going back to social a little bit, LinkedIn has a concept of carousels where you have a clickable image, which is technically a PDF under the hood. Maybe you've just written a blog, you've put that live. Yeah, you've just done some single posts, but you may want to just take it a little to another level. So you could build a carousel here. So give me some ideas for headlines, write at least X number of slides worth of content, and you could actually pull this out. What you could also do is get it to help you maybe with some imagery if you're happy with AI imagery, and we're going to talk about that in a second. But at the end of the day, you could get it to do that as well. And then if to create carousels, there's plenty of tools out there. You could use just straight Canva. There's actually even tools that will produce the carousels. There are even, I think I've seen I've played around with some AI versions of it as well, which will actually you pump in the text that you want on each slide, and it creates everything. You basically have a template, put the data in, and away you go. Like I said, image. So create an image of a tranquil beach scene at sunset. The sun is just dropping, and so on. So you can get it. And again, I would say earlier on, I was talking about trying to create an image for someone I know very well. We couldn't get the image to take out a certain feature, but we kept on it, and eventually we did. So don't give up just because you get one image or four images. Keep on working and tell it, hey, I don't like this. Um, or maybe you want to remove something out, try to see if you can just tell it, it's like, I'd like this without that. One area that this does not do a great job is doing text, because it doesn't add it as a font, it adds it as basically graphics. So it when it does that, it doesn't always have a great concept of spelling, or even grammar, right? So at the end of the day is what a lot of us in marketing will do is create the image and then find another tool and overlay the text that we want. Don't always rely on AI to correct that, bring and correct that correct for you. Another area that can be very beneficial sometimes, we're trying to work out our YouTube descriptions and titles. So we can come up with maybe, or we're struggling to come up with some video ideas. We do AP automation, right, in the BC space, and we're not too sure. So again, ask it to generate some ideas for you to go out and create some content. One of the areas that we always want in a lot of their descriptions, and this goes even in the social media messages, we need something which is engaging, it has a memorable hook. Basically, that hook hooks the watcher, the reader, basically the person you're targeting, to come in and look at what you're doing. So we always want to have a good hook that brings people in. Then we need to keep them engaged. And always at the end, we want to have a good call to action that takes them to the next piece, right? So a hook, the core, and the CTA are always really key. But I mean, bottom line, hook and CTA are really important pieces here. Another area is sometimes maybe we want to do some customer surveys, right? Generate some survey questions based on. We could take this in different ways. Maybe we're doing an email, we want to get some feedback from our customers. Maybe we want to write a poll for LinkedIn. What we could do is go back, look at some of those outlines of what we were getting for blogs, finding some different ways to engage people. Maybe that we're going into a new industry. We don't know how to, we're still trying to understand some of the pain points. We think we know them all. We could go out there and put a poll out there asking, are these pain points areas that you're struggling with? And see what the results were, and then be able to take that to help, and then plug maybe that back into Copilot to help us with the next step of writing articles and things like that. So again, teaching it what we learned from polls, surveys, and things like that. Sometimes we're dealing with massive white papers that go over, and we want to summarize them, right? So at the end of the day, this is a great way to do that. I've actually been playing around over the last few days is actually taking videos. So summarizing a video or asking it, can it give me a little bit more information on that? So you can actually load up files in and ask it to do certain things like that. Maybe you want to provide a summary of, provide that concise summary, summarize the key findings, right? Again, this could go both sides. This could be an end user who's looking to look at cloud ERP and they're comparing different products. It's like, okay, summarize this and then compare these with the different products, right? So maybe we want to compare it against some competitors and say, okay, based on these two white papers, is there a gap? What am I missing? Do all three of these products we're evaluating, do they all have the same functionality, or is there things missing that we need to be aware of that we need for our business? Just a thought that you could use it there. Call to action, I talked about that a little bit earlier on. Crafting call to action sentences at the end of a blog post really encourages people to read. Again, we're doing that rating at the end of the day. Rate that call to action and get AI, get Copilot to give you a feel of how it thinks it's going to be successful. Again, like anything in marketing, sometimes it's a trial and error. Things that have worked really well in the past don't work, and then you regroup, you tweak it a bit, and maybe you put out the second best thing or third best thing that you thought. Yeah, and actually that does get people. So at the end of the day, this just helps you play around with that. I always look at it as marketing people. It's fun because sometimes you do all this heavy lifting. It works for 50 of your customers, and then you get that 51st and it doesn't work for them. It's like, what the hell? It's like, why is this not working here? And we just have to tweak it. Reviewing competitors. This one, like I said, I like to analyze data all the time. So maybe we want to analyze these three different organizations that have got support plans, share back it's complete, give me a list of SEO improvements I could make to my, because maybe I can't get my URL to rank, but these three are ranking higher than me. So there's two ways I could look at this. I can look at it to find out what the differences between their products are, their product services, or I can use it to help me improve my SEO to actually make sure I'm ranking above them. So when someone is looking for managed service plans for CRM, they can find us first and not the competitors. So just another area. There's a lot we can do. So we're coming to the end here of our session. And one of the things I want to say is, according to McKinsey, 42% of organizations reporting cost savings through AI. At the end of the day, I think some people get concerned about, is it going to take away jobs? No, because at the end of the day, we still need to humanize these. These are helping sometimes with things which they're time consuming or add additional value that we can bring. So I know internally we went through a process really early on. And I remember having a conversation with the team, and it was like, yeah, we really shouldn't, we should be anti-AI. Well, roll forward, we actually kept on working it. I actually was a little bit more wanting to look at it because I'm always looking to find improvements from processes, how we can do stuff. So we've started to incorporate it where it's appropriate. But anything we then put out that's customer facing is always has the human element on it as well. So at the end of the day, it does help us. It's brought some efficiencies for us. But at the end of the day, we still rely on the person and not, say, Copilot or AI tools to do the finished products. So with that said, I'm going to wrap up here with my deck here. Hopefully what I've shared, I didn't go too fast. I like to talk fast, and so hopefully you can go back, and because this is going to be possibly you're going to have access to these videos that you can go back through and you can slow me down a little bit. But if you want to contact me directly and you want to talk about any of these prompts, or you have a prompt that you want some thoughts on, feel free. You can reach me there at my Marketeria account. Or if you just want to listen to my ramblings that I write a lot on different topics, I'm just getting ready to start putting out some different prompts on social media. You can scan here that QR code, and that will let you subscribe to my newsletter that I put out at least, or try to put out at least once a month, or if not more. So with that, I appreciate the team that for Connect 2025 that invited me to speak, and I hope you enjoyed this slide.